Nyonji chembor zordar nyume jang, zoner monam chembor nga gyabda, bakar dargan zanto shirmurdo. Shtumba dik je janla zhong zorlo, ni jarur tsengi jengamsa, jawar tik jibshan la yelan. Jime banzo jala soranda kongdi toban bhavara shinjilo, kongdi toban bhavara shinjilo, kongdi toban bhavara shinjilo.
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning.
Yang di tse, shanchu sanhua sanhua chenpo, phaba kendo sampo, shanchu sanhua sayi nyampo, landar kato soram, phaba lak teki, thaklar devje tang, tartar tang, maungwe, semchir namji chet, memji jinjikten tang, kyabar dul hon zangol, rdugdug gzorwa semchir namla leki, nambar membag ne te, nyari mang dang, dugbar membim drewe, nambar vijagbar namuksar, tandok sur, Delap tenne maung tiki tami semchen namki leki nambar membim drewe, nambar vijagbar shibaran gyoro, tenne shanchu sangwa sayi nyambo, lan nder katar mebam, phagba laga, dagka sangyeji, rzamchar dang kiewe chenbur toblap tenne, nyari mang dang, dugdug nambar vijagbi, didef nya prafshago, phagba laga, zangwa lang, dani shar kip shuk samsa, Ksitigarbha rabe yonsu korvi ruwa jigi yodo, ruwa tena anak jang tang sinda zaba dang nima dang dawi go kyang mepago. Yer tere chi nar da mepiya nyara jibshava yodo, devzhen da nar chenpo jibshava nyara dang, zirbjiba jibshava nyara dang, champar jibshava nyara dang, memda jibshava nyara dang, rinzit jibshava nyara dang, donghan jibshava nyara dang, changkur jibshava nyara dang, chagmar jibshava nyara dang, chagzuk jibshava nyara dang, chagku jibshava nyara dang, Tsundong jibshawe nyaradang, chagbong jibshawe nyaradang, zanjin jibshawe nyaradang, kankit jibshawe nyaradang, mebzir jibshawe nyaradang, janmo jibshawe nyaradang, gokchu jibshawe nyaradang, kamchak jibshawe nyaradang, migza jibshawe nyaradang, chagrir jibshawe nyaradang, chikzu jibshawe nyaradang, chigdir tari jibshawe nyaradang, chomang jibshawe nyarva. Shanchu sanhua sayi nyambo, meba, phagba laga, chigirib, korbi nangda tertara, nyara namgir namchang jarta meba yola. Devzhin da ngambo da jibshawe tachaba.
In order to liberate all sentient beings, please give rise to the supreme and unsurpassed bodhicitta. Now we will continue our further and more detailed discussion of the profound Ksitigarbha Sutra. We all truly attach very great and significant importance to this truly profound and significant Ksitigarbha Sutra indeed. Especially when we look at it from a historical perspective, there have been quite a lot of people who valued the Ksitigarbha Dharma practice. Among eminent monks and great masters, there are especially many who do so. And among ordinary devotees, there are also quite a few. There is also a group of people who do not have a particular faith, but have great confidence in the Ksitigarbha Dharma practice. Even among those who have not taken refuge in the three jewels, there are quite a few people who are interested in the Ksitigarbha Dharma practice. This time, as we discuss the Ksitigarbha Sutra, it can't really be considered an especially extensive explanation. I think in terms of the literal meaning of the Ksitigarbha Sutra, everyone should have a fairly comprehensive and thorough understanding. Moreover, whether it's detailed commentaries or extensive annotations on the profound Ksitigarbha Sutra, these resources provide invaluable insights, or records of miraculous responses related to it. There are especially many. So, I won't elaborate too much on every single detail, but it is absolutely necessary to talk about it a bit more thoroughly. Every single day we will discuss some simple and engaging stories that are easy to understand. Today I will share with you one such fascinating story. During the glorious Tang dynasty, there was a renowned temple called Kaishan Temple. There was a statue of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva there, about 1 meter tall in height. But many people didn't know who had actually made this particular Ksitigarbha statue originally at all. It was a statue that everyone deeply revered with great devotion and respected greatly. There was a local official, a man of some standing with the surname Deng. When this Mr. Deng reached the age of 61 years, he suddenly fell gravely ill, and then, tragically, he died. After being dead for a full day and an entire night, he miraculously came back to life. After coming back to life, he insisted on going to Kaishan temple. He wanted to pay respects to the statue of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva there. At that specific moment in time, the monks residing within the temple approached him and inquired why he felt compelled to undertake this action. He then explained, "After my passing, I journeyed to hell. First, I arrived at the court of the king of the intermediate state. Then the king of the intermediate state said that my life was not yet over, and also when you were in the human world, you spread the Dharma and benefited sentient beings, showing great virtue and merit. If you still wish to return to the human world, he also agreed to graciously let him return to the human world. Actually, nowadays, there may be some individuals who have been truly dead for a while or have completely and utterly lost consciousness, as if their life has already ended, but sometimes they miraculously come back to life. Such phenomena are very common both in China and abroad. So this person later wished to return to the human world. The king of the intermediate state also said, 'Would you like to take a look at hell?' This is basically the same as the case we discussed yesterday. Then after some consideration, he finally agreed to go, and a stern prison guard dutifully led him directly there. He visited mainly the 18 great hells, as well as many smaller and larger hells. These hells were truly unbearable to witness, where blazing fire was relentlessly used to burn the sinners, making them cry out in unimaginable agony, with all kinds of cruel torture and endless suffering, indescribable and extremely painful to behold. But something very remarkable happened. He saw that in every hell there was a monk present compassionately, manifesting in different various ways to liberate the beings there with skillful means through his power. This venerable monk also greatly benefited countless suffering beings in the depths of hell. That monk asked him, "Do you recognize me?" He replied, "I don't recognize you. Who are you?" The monk declared, "I am Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, hailing from the esteemed Kaishan monastery." He continued, "In times past, there was a revered Dharma master named Zhizang, and it was his devoted disciple who meticulously created a statue of Ksitigarbha. The purpose of making the statue was to liberate beings in the lower realms. Later, I manifested in various diverse forms and began to greatly benefit the suffering beings in the realms of hell." He also thoughtfully recited some sacred verses to him, offering guidance and solace, and he gave some profound teachings, including explicitly stating that in hell, every single being possesses a different capacity for understanding. Some beings have abundant virtuous roots, and just a little teaching or guidance can quickly lead them to liberation. They can attain liberation very quickly. For those beings whose virtuous roots are weak, it is more difficult. Some of them have severed their virtuous roots. These beings with heavy negative karma are, not to mention me, even if the power of all the Buddhas were combined, it would still be very difficult to liberate them, and so on. He gave teachings like these as well. In the end, from this profound and vivid vision, he finally awakened from his unconscious and prolonged fainting state. He slowly but surely came back to life. After fully recovering and coming back to life, he then spoke in great detail about his terrifying and unforgettable experiences in hell. He also talked about the merits of the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva statue. He also shared his own personal experience as well, explaining the profound truth that cause and effect never ever fail. After this significant event, he then requested the monks who were present there to let him take the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva statue from the temple. The 1 meter tall Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva statue, he wanted to bring it home. But the temple did not agree. They said, "Our Ksitigarbha statue is such an ancient antique, there's no way we can let you take it away. But we agree that you can indeed make a statue that is quite similar to it, one that is absolutely identical to it." So from this particular point, we can also clearly see that in the future, when we have the opportune moment, whether in a sacred temple or within the comfort of one's own home, if we sculpt a statue of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, it should be said that in a city, if there is a Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva statue, it will benefit all sentient beings in that city. If there is a Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva statue in a small temple, then Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva will bring benefits to the entire temple and the people in the surrounding villages. There will be certain benefits. If a Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva statue is enshrined at home, there will also be truly great benefits. So I think that in the future, for each and every one of us personally, if we are able in all aspects, it truly doesn't matter if it's a Tibetan-style Ksitigarbha statue, that's perfectly fine too, or a Han-style Ksitigarbha statue, both are acceptable. There is absolutely no significant difference between them. For example, our revered Shakyamuni Buddha, in actual fact, the magnificent Shakyamuni Buddha statues found in Thailand, the Shakyamuni Buddha statues in Tibetan Buddhism, and the magnificent Shakyamuni Buddha statues in Northern Buddhism are generally the same. But sometimes the physical features may be a bit different. Among some of the physical features of Shakyamuni Buddha, there are also standing and sitting postures. Just like with our Guru Rinpoche statues, most Guru Rinpoche statues are seated, but there are also Guru Rinpoche statues that are standing. Some, including those in the 7-line prayer, depict the revered Guru Rinpoche standing prominently as well. Among the many sacred 8 manifestations of Guru Rinpoche, some in monastic form, while others in lay form. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, he can have all kinds of forms. Just like our Avalokiteshvara statues, there are many different types. But all are for the purpose of guiding sentient beings. To guide sentient beings, they manifest in various forms, appearances. As long as we have faith, the differences in their attire and appearance pose no obstacles at all. So for yourself, whichever Buddha or Bodhisattva statue you feel connected to, if you have unwavering faith in it, you can truly focus your valuable offerings on that one particular statue. As for me personally, it seems that, for example, I have faith in the statue of Shakyamuni Buddha. Last year, when I went to Thailand, I noticed that our Tibetan-style Shakyamuni Buddha statues are a bit different from some of the ones in Thailand. The Thai statues typically feature a distinctive pointed top knot here, but I profoundly feel that as long as one possesses genuine faith, there's truly no significant difference whatsoever between the sacred forms of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in their fundamental essence. So this is just something important I wanted to mention beforehand. In the future, everyone should also have unwavering faith in the sacred forms of the Buddha. Of course, nowadays some young people in the world, because they truly do not fully understand, and they wonder deeply whether the act of making statues is truly appropriate or not. And some individuals even go so far as to worship these idols, or have doubts about the Creator, or think that worshipping sacred images is unreasonable. There are all kinds of opinions, but we can readily understand this. It's quite understandable. Their overall attitude is very similar to how in our contemporary world, people who genuinely don't fully grasp Confucian culture might feel a very strong aversion to statues of Confucius. This includes, for example, the Statue of Liberty in the West and all kinds of different statues. Actually, if they understood their own culture from a cultural perspective, these also have deeper meanings and significance. And when it comes to religious faith, that's even more the case. So, when it comes to these magnificent statues found throughout the world, they actually represent both rich culture and deep faith, and they also contain truly profound value within them. These profound and fundamental principles, if you haven't specifically studied them in detail, you might not necessarily fully understand them completely. We may have never studied these things before. And even if we've attended some schools now, what we've learned isn't really thorough or complete. People like this often, when it comes to deeply cherished items with profound cultural or significant religious importance, whether it's numerous exquisite works of art or sacred religious icons, for example, such as ancient sculptures, revered paintings, or holy relics, they feel aversion and may even slander, defame, or indeed destroy them. This particular kind of phenomenon does indeed exist, certainly exist. In actual fact, this is a clear sign of profound ignorance, severe ignorance. If we carefully compare this with our educational system, our education should inherently be much more inclusive, considerably more inclusive. Or if our education truly and deeply reaches the people's hearts, If many things are truly instilled in people from a very young age, then for many people throughout their entire lives, indeed their whole lives, they would possess both wisdom and traditional moral values, ethical values. But if we look at the world as a whole, entire world, in fact, whether it's Asians or Westerners, all people in different cultures, it should be said that Darwin's theory, this really famous scientific theory, has, apart from purely material and tangible aspects, completely erased many other profound and deeply significant spiritual values. All of these invaluable elements have been entirely wiped out. As a direct and unfortunate result, many of us today, actually Westerners are the same way. As for Westerners, what else is there that is truly fundamental? The most fundamental thing, of course, is religion, because religion used to be extremely powerful and influential in the West, including those in the Middle East region. As for these religious followers, whether they were priests or other devoted individuals, at that time they used religion to rule the country and govern the people. During this period, they would take certain words from religion and use them to intimidate and control society. After that, people initially always believed this was indeed the undeniable case. But later on, with the significant rise of atheism and so on, in many powerful governments, there was a noticeable shift in perspective and understanding. Historically, religion was deliberately not incorporated into the official education system within this particular context. The prevailing belief was that anything with religious connotations could potentially be dangerous, or at the very least instill a sense of fear. This deeply ingrained perspective was, in essence, their fundamental perception. But actually, this isn't very reasonable. Religion has its own inherent rationality, but religion also has its irrational aspects. It did not truly and effectively use religious teachings to genuinely benefit the general populace. Some influential individuals, after successfully gaining control of religion, deliberately used it to achieve their own personal goals and to systematically control people's fundamental freedom, to control people's behavior. There are various different ways to interpret this particular statement, and as a direct result, people eventually realized that some aspects were actually unreasonable, some aspects were irrational, and some aspects, when measured against their respective countries' laws, were even illegal. This is one of the reasons why. So now, when it comes to the Buddha's actual physical appearance and his various characteristics, if you do not fully comprehend or understand these significant aspects, you should consider that there must be a profound meaning behind it. This is not just about our Buddha statues, but also about worldly cultural and artistic works, as well as religious sculptures. We should also truly respect and honor them appropriately. If you don't have faith, if you don't have any particular belief in them, you should still consider that it might not be so simple. Because it already possesses hundreds or even thousands of years of rich history with such a long and extensive historical process, there must certainly be some profound meaning deeply embedded within it. There must be deep significance. You should really try to understand it in this particular and specific way. What are we actually going to talk about next? Today, we are discussing the very specific karmic consequences from our past actions. The four heavenly kings asked the world-honored one about Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Yes, the Buddha addressed the four heavenly kings. The four heavenly kings respectfully asked Shakyamuni Buddha, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has made numerous and extensive vows for such an incredibly long period of time already, and continues to do so, and is still saving sentient beings within the cycle of birth and death. He still wants to make even more vows. Why is that? Next, it is explained that actually Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva has many different methods for teaching and transforming sentient beings. He consistently employs skillful and compassionate means to effectively guide and transform a vast and diverse number of sentient beings. Just yesterday, we specifically discussed roughly, let me carefully count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 distinct points. Previously, we have thoroughly discussed and explored 7 distinct kinds of karmic retribution. Therefore, for our discussion today, we will now proceed to talk about the 8th one. If one happens to encounter individuals who are habitually excessive in their eating and drinking, if you come across people who are completely unrestrained in their eating and drinking, who eat and drink recklessly without any self-control whatsoever, Nowadays, there's something widely known as mukbang, right? They have a truly huge and elaborate spread of food in front of them. Succulent shrimp, enormous lobsters, and many other delectable items. Wow, watching all of that being consumed, it all looks pretty terrifying, almost overwhelming to witness. Then during the live stream, they eat all of the entire thing. Some of them are extremely, extremely thin people, but they eat an incredible amount. And this is also extremely popular. Sometimes it also looks quite pitiful. Those people who kill living beings, this tastes so incredibly good. You could certainly say this is eating and drinking without any restraint whatsoever. So, what kind of severe retribution do these people ultimately face? In the future, you absolutely need to tell them this. Hunger, thirst, and various throat diseases. For example, serious esophageal cancer. Nowadays, many people later on in their lives can't even swallow a single drop of water, which is truly unfortunate. Not even a single drop of water can truly go down. Some individuals, unfortunately, can't eat a single bite of food for an entire month. These truly unfortunate people are quite pitiful. But perhaps in their past lives, or even in this current life, sometimes they've committed very serious negative karma. They have no sense of frugality, not even the slightest intention to avoid waste. They constantly give to others, and not only do they themselves overindulge in excessive food and drink, they even actively encourage others to needlessly kill or waste valuable food. In the end, such unfortunate people inevitably suffer from hunger and thirst, as well as various illnesses like esophageal cancer and throat diseases, and leave this world because of these dire conditions. This is the retribution that is being described here. If you encounter people who indulge in hunting and satisfying their desires, the meaning of hunting here can also refer to acting quite recklessly and completely without restraint, with not even a single trace of compassion or genuine care. They desperately kill wild animals and fierce, dangerous beasts. So, what exactly should be conveyed to such individuals? They should be explicitly told about the severe retribution of dying in profound terror and overwhelming panic. In their final moments, when they are about to face their demise, they may vividly see all kinds of ferocious and terrifying animals coming to relentlessly attack and ultimately kill them. They experience extreme fear and profound panic, a terrifying ordeal that grips their very being. They tragically leave this world in such a deeply distressed and agonizing state, which is truly and utterly pitiful to witness. Venerable Master Jinkong, a highly respected and wise spiritual leader, once shared that when he was a young man of 16 years old, before he started studying Buddhism at the age of 16, he used to go hunting together with his father. They hunted in the mountains for 3 years. In fact, Master Jinkong said that in the past he never missed a shot. He was an exceptionally excellent marksman. He also skillfully killed and consumed a significant amount of fish. Both he and his father were deeply and heavily involved in the killing of living beings. Later, when his father was 45 years old, he tragically developed a truly terrifying, profoundly madness-inducing panic disorder. It was an extremely frightening and deeply distressing experience for everyone involved. Witnessing his father's death in this deeply tragic way made him especially heartbroken. Later, when he came across the sacred text, the Ksitigarbha Sutra, he realized that his own karmic obstacles were very deep and that he needed to repent. Moreover, from his father's entire process of illness and death, he gained a truly great deal of profound insight. Perhaps this significant experience later influenced his crucial decision to study Buddhism and ultimately become a monk. It probably had a certain, quite significant impact, so some truly eminent monks and great virtuous ones before they were ordained also displayed various kinds of behaviors in their earlier lives indeed. Of course, perhaps this was just an appearance, or perhaps it truly was such a process. When we read the biographies of many great masters, they often started out this way as well. According to some of his very own personal accounts, his own father was exactly the same way, similar manner. So sometimes, you see, when an individual is experiencing a state of mental instability or is exhibiting extremely manic behavior and they are completely unable to control their actions or thoughts, when their mind is already deeply immersed in a state of madness and disarray, such individuals may indeed possess a significant and undeniable connection to killing karma originating from their past lives. Nowadays, in some psychiatric hospitals, every patient is especially pitiful. There are psychiatric hospitals in many places now, and in those hospitals every day, they use electric shocks and various other methods to help patients control their emotions. Other than that, there's really nothing else they can do. Actually, these people are likely those who committed killing and accumulated killing karma in their past lives. I really don't know if there are any experienced hunters present among us here at this very moment, but if there are, if you don't become like that in this life, then perhaps in the next life, future life, if you don't sincerely repent, such things may indeed happen. Back when I was herding cattle, there was a neighbor. His name was Gongchok Sangpo, a skilled and experienced hunter. He always wanted to teach me, ever since we spent a lot of time herding cattle together in the vast open fields. He would expertly teach me how to use various types of rope to make those intricate and essential tools for hunting and daily life. What are they called, those? Not that one. Right, the kind of intricate device that effectively traps something inside and then successfully catches it. He also skillfully used strong, flexible wire to construct various types of traps for efficiently catching small animals. He would often teach me these things. I would pretend to learn on the surface, and after I finished learning, after he finished making them over there, I would quietly go over and destroy them. He really wanted to take me as his apprentice, but he didn't succeed. This is indeed a kind of retribution. If you ever come across someone who is truly rebellious against their parents, who actually goes against their own parents' firmly held teachings, if you encounter someone who is unfilial to their parents, what kind of profound and severe retribution should you tell them about? We speak of natural disasters and various forms of tragic killings. For instance, some individuals are tragically struck dead by sudden lightning, or they might perish in devastating tsunamis, catastrophic earthquakes, including destructive landslides and even severe car accidents, all of which can be seen as forms of karmic consequence. These are also widely considered to be natural disasters. Wouldn't you agree with that statement? There is indeed this kind of inevitable and just retribution, a consequence that ultimately manifests itself for actions taken. Some of us might just ask, why does something like this happen so suddenly and without any warning? It's truly perplexing. Just a short while ago in the specific area of Huoxi, there was an unfortunate car accident that occurred. It was said that there were indeed 6 students involved, and in the end, the car tragically overturned into the river. It seems that 1 or 2 bodies were regrettably never found. About an hour before that, those students called their parents and said, "Please don't go to bed tonight. We're almost going home very soon." But in the end, on the way, perhaps the driver fell asleep or something similar, as no one truly knows for sure what exactly happened. And then the car plunged into the river. Among the occupants, there was a young girl who, since it was approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, when she was tragically swept away by the powerful, rushing water, she was desperately groping around in the murky depths of the river with her outstretched hands, trying to find something to hold onto, and managed to grab onto a tree branch. Then, slowly but surely, little by little, she eventually made her way to the safety of the shore. No one knew about this that night. The next day, she was found to be badly injured. Actually, everyone's karma is different, very different. Some people survive even in situations like this, extreme situations, dangerous life situations, but most of them didn't make it, barely made it. So when we look at sentient beings, truly, for those of us who truly don't believe in the concept of cause and effect, we might think, I'm so unlucky, why did I get this particular illness? Why do I consistently have such unfortunate and challenging experiences? Or why is everyone else safe and sound, but I'm like this? But actually, for each of us, our own past karma, the individual karma carried on our alaya consciousness is all profoundly different. When the truly right conditions come together, it's not that one's accumulated karma will be utterly destroyed even after hundreds or thousands of kalpas. Once the conditions are fully met, the result will definitely ripen. So in our daily lives, we constantly encounter whatever experiences we may encounter, whether they are good or bad. Actually, there are many underlying causes and conditions, both visible and invisible, that are deeply involved in various ways in our lives. There are many factors at play within them. The continuation of these causes and conditions, in Buddhism, we call it the law of cause and effect never fails. Some people say, how can there be infallible cause and effect? What is it, really? Nowadays, some young people who haven't studied this aspect seem to scoff at such theories. But actually, this is a clear sign of their own profound ignorance. If we ourselves truly go deep, explore thoroughly, and study diligently, and then come to a conclusion, then you have the right to scoff at it. But if you haven't done so, it seems you have absolutely no understanding of the entire overall process. When you haven't fully understood the process, and you hear an unfamiliar term, or perhaps a term that doesn't quite align with your own personal way of thinking, if you immediately reject or completely dismiss it without proper consideration, then this kind of dismissive attitude is really quite unreasonable and unacceptable. So the infallibility of cause and effect, during the process of learning, continuous learning, you can truly experience it, deeply experience it, and personally witness it. So for me personally, no matter what I encounter, I will do my best to And for example, when I encounter difficulties, major obstacles, I try my best to cope with or face them, courageously meet them and bravely confront them. But when I really can't handle it, I think, oh, this must be a karmic connection from a previous life, earlier existence. This is something I truly and deeply believe in myself, in my heart. Actually, everyone is like this. For example, you may be in good health now, but suddenly you come down with some very strange illness and no hospital can effectively cure it. Then you might think, this must be something indeed from this current life of mine, or maybe I created some special karma in the past. So when this karmic result manifests, maybe even doctors can't do anything about it. Even if the medicine Buddha himself appeared, when the true karmic result comes, it's very hard to change. So sometimes each of us should have a belief in the infallibility of cause and effect. This belief is also very important in our lives. It's very important as well. None of our lives can stay the same forever. If things could stay the same forever, then there would be no death for humans on earth. Each of us will face death. There are times of prosperity and times of decline, times of success and times of failure. But these are just things our naked eyes can't see, and our discriminating minds simply can't quite recall. In actual reality, everything is truly within the immutable law of cause and effect, always and perpetually within the profound law of cause and effect. So in the entire process of our diligent study, everyone should reflect deeply on this important matter and consider it over very carefully. In this way, when the opportune time eventually comes for us, it will be just as clearly and precisely described in the beacon of certainty. We will develop a more firm and decisive understanding. This kind of decisive understanding is a form of wisdom. This wisdom is extremely beneficial for our lives, especially when facing any kind of difficult problem or challenging situation. Next, it thoroughly discusses what specific actions to take if you unfortunately encounter someone who deliberately sets forests on fire. Some individuals you may encounter could potentially do it intentionally, while others may do it unintentionally. For those who set forests on fire, you should truly tell them that they will suffer the severe retribution of profound madness and death. They may develop serious mental illnesses or suffer from various severe conditions that lead them to tragically commit suicide. In fact, those individuals who commit suicide are also acting out of a specific kind of madness, which is also a clear manifestation of mental instability. All of this is also the direct result of having extensively burned forests in the past. Because there are so many different kinds of animals and various species of birds living within the forest environment, as a direct consequence, one may unfortunately end up suffering from such unexpected illnesses oneself. Furthermore, there are also documented cases involving what we commonly refer to as stepfathers and stepmothers, and those individuals whom they raise, who are very often subjected to physical and emotional abuse in numerous and various ways. What ultimately happens to these unfortunate people in the end, and what becomes of their future? They end up being reborn in their own families again, same families again, and then they start to whip and beat others, cruelly and violently beat others. There are indeed cases of immediate retribution like this, whether it's children who are adopted or children who are the biological offspring of their parents. Some individuals may indeed have a certain particular kind of connections because they have absolutely no parents and are raised by other individuals. There are all kinds of situations. So in such cases, if we were to treat them with such abuse or torment, then what would be the consequences of our actions? We may also find ourselves in a certain family experiencing the same. Some of us were beaten by our parents from a young age, or beaten by others, beaten every day. Their bodies are covered in bruises and wounds, always in great pain, growing up in such a family environment. Actually, this is also a kind of form of retribution, a karmic consequence. And if someone deliberately uses cruel nets to catch vulnerable fledglings, whether it's catching innocent young birds or other defenseless wild animals, what exactly should we communicate to these individuals who engage in such harmful practices? We should talk about the retribution of being separated from one's own flesh and blood. Even now, among human beings, there are indeed some individuals who are especially, truly pitiful and deserving of compassion, who are forcibly separated from their own flesh and blood. Especially some who suffer from all kinds of rare diseases, whether it's debilitating skin diseases or severe muscle diseases, including those individuals who desperately need life-saving bone marrow transplants. Tragically, some become permanently disabled, and some even face more dire outcomes. In ancient times, there existed a wide array of incredibly harsh and often brutal punishments. When we go to Cambodia or even Japan, The instruments used to punish people back then were especially cruel, extremely terribly cruel, slowly peeling off a person's skin, living person's skin. Then they would cut off the muscles piece by piece. Maybe it's because of karma manifesting or because the vital points weren't hit. So for a long time there was no way to die. This even includes what's happening now in the ongoing situation in Israel and what the Germans, Nazi German soldiers, did to them at that time, wartime historical period. The sheer brutality, the immense cruelty, and the horrific torture perpetrated by the Nazis was especially terrifying. Some photos are too horrifying to even look at. To have one's very own skin and flesh slowly peeled and painfully sliced off alive in such a manner, there are all kinds of pain, and these are things one can experience. If someone truly encounters those who destroy the sacred and precious 3 jewels, those who slander or damage the sacred 3 jewels, what exactly is their karmic retribution? It manifests as blindness, deafness, and muteness. The blind individuals, the deaf individuals, and the mute people that we encounter in our present lives, these people are also very pitiable. In the past, they slandered extremely precious objects of reverence, slandering the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, constantly committing all kinds of negative karma. Because of this, they are born in this life with incomplete faculties. This is truly pitiable. So in this life as well, some people, have they ever slandered the 3 jewels? If so, before their inevitable dying, they should sincerely and deeply repent for their actions. Some people, whether acting as individuals or as part of a larger group, should be relatively wise themselves. Just as it is stated in the 10-wheel Sutra of Ksitigarbha, even if one has committed negative karma, if one can repent, it destroys the banner of the demons. This is truly very necessary. In this life we have indeed truly encountered the authentic Dharma, genuine true Dharma. Otherwise, who knows when we would have another chance at liberation. So we should also truly and sincerely repent in this very way with devotion. Otherwise, for countless years, we might become mute or deaf-mute, which is truly pitiable, extremely pitiable. When we see deaf-mute people, for example, these days, we think, oh, how pitiful they are, but we never consider that we ourselves might have created or have created such karma. This seed still exists continuously within our mind stream. I must quickly, before I die, destroy these truly bad seeds within my personal stream. We do have effective methods to destroy them. If you really don't do this, you might even, on top of the original bad seeds, add even more negative seeds. Then, after I close my eyes for the very last time, perhaps immediately in a completely different and entirely new world, I will become one of these deaf-mute people. If that's the case, it would be especially sad for myself as well. It truly is something to be genuinely sad about if you unfortunately encounter people who are disrespectful towards the sacred Dharma and its profound teachings. For example, those who are disrespectful towards Buddha statues, Buddhism, the Buddha's appearance or the teachings, those who actively belittle and slander or deliberately look down upon them. Such people indeed will always remain in the realms of hell, hungry ghosts or animals in the lower realms, which is truly pitiful as well. If you encounter people who misuse or destroy property belonging to the Sangha, especially the possessions of the monastic community, if you use them in a careless and irresponsible manner or cause significant and lasting damage to them, then for an immeasurable and truly countless number of eons, you will inevitably experience the severe and profound consequences within the suffering-filled hell realms of samsara. That's precisely why we often emphasize and state that the sacred property of the Sangha, and more specifically the communal property of monasteries and monastic institutions, must be responsibly managed by us. Simply uttering the words that we should manage it well is in itself insufficient and does not fulfill the responsibility required. As I have said before, actually, right here at the magnificent Larungar, including all the years I have been in charge here, we have always been very conscientious, and it is precisely for this very reason that some of our Dharma friends here, those who practice a bit better, including those who take on responsibilities, many of the leaders in our construction team, the very first condition they said is, I don't handle money. Money cannot be directly with me. Anything else is perfectly fine. However, even without physically touching actual currency, there are still ways to illicitly steal. You do not have to physically touch cash. It can be conveniently and discreetly transferred electronically to a bank card or a mobile phone. That's all possible. Sometimes I even joke, it's fine if you don't touch the money, but the most important thing is, there absolutely needs to be a management system truly in place. This is a very important consideration. Whether it's each individual department or every dedicated volunteer team, when the appropriate time comes, It's very troublesome and quite difficult to have to constantly clear your own good name. We should really have a much more reasonable and equitable system in place. For example, consider whether it's the personal property of the monastics themselves, or indeed any of our collective assets. Actually, you can truly enjoy what rightfully and properly belongs to you. But you absolutely shouldn't use or enjoy any property that you are not legally supposed to have. For example, when it comes to the general management of a monastery, there are always roles like accountant, cashier, and person in charge. If any funds need to be used, it always requires the involvement of at least 3 people. Unless these 3 people become as one, and their minds are completely united, but generally speaking, that's very difficult. Usually when it comes to managing finances, after 4 or 5 years, it's probably better to switch people around. If the same people stay in those roles too long, at first they all feel cautious and mindful of cause and effect. But after some time passes, they might become a bit numb. This kind of situation can happen. So generally, we recommend that after 4 or 5 years, those managing finances should be rotated. But during the management process, it's not just about saying, I swear by the 3 jewels, I would never steal anything. If you truly and genuinely were a thief, you would most definitely say something exactly like that, wouldn't you? If you're not afraid of the karmic consequences among the monastic community, then telling a lie would be no problem for you at all. So generally speaking, when it comes to the property of the guru and the 3 jewels, there must be a relatively reasonable and effective management method. Every single place should establish such a comprehensive system. This is also incredibly important. Moreover, such valuable assets, including some detailed records and essential files, should all be carefully kept and meticulously maintained, and at the appropriate time be reported to the monastic community. This is very important. Otherwise, if we just say, I truly believe in karma, and actually explain things to ourselves, sometimes that's not quite very reasonable. In addition, according to some very relevant current laws, including certain laws that may come into effect at a certain time, if someone falsely accuses you of serious embezzlement, and you say, I absolutely did not, legally no one will accept that as proof. If you say, did I embezzle? No. All our records are here, you can check them yourself. But just having records is not enough. Every month, the relevant personnel should sign off on them. This is very important. In Western countries, as long as there is a signature, it's sufficient. There's no need for a stamp. Actually, we should do the same. This is also very important for the property of all the monastics, Buddhist monastic communities, including some lay practitioners and others as well. When doing good deeds, this method should also be used. Don't have the money transferred directly to my account. If I want to make an offering or perform a life release ceremony, then I say, I would never embezzle. Just saying that will make everyone suspicious. This is something we must pay attention to now. In the future, everyone should also be mindful of this in everything they do, if the account is not officially provided, many accounts. Some time ago, in certain places of ours, we didn't really know. There were all kinds of different people, including some specific individuals right here at our monastery, you see, who would often provide this account or that account. If this situation happens and we find out about it later, and if it's quite serious, it's best not to live together with the monks here. This has always been the case here, and I've said it countless times. Whether it's on our monastery side, including myself with construction and many other things, we have never solicited donations. There's no need for you to go around saying that Lama is short of money, or that Tulku is short of money, or that Khenpo is short of money. If they're short of money, let them go beg for themselves. There's absolutely no real need for you to advertise for them, is there? This particular kind of behavior is truly and genuinely alarming. There's absolutely no need to engage in these sorts of activities. Everyone should really pay close attention to this important matter. Look here, those who misuse the monastery's resources, those who truly misuse the sacred property of the Sangha, it is widely said that for countless billions of kalpas, everyone should clearly know precisely how long a kalpa is. Everyone is also quite clear about how many hundreds of millions of years a single kalpa actually lasts. If you encounter some who defile the precepts, who corrupt the pure conduct of the Sangha, and for those individuals who maliciously slander monks, for these very people, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva also explicitly spoke about them. To be eternally reborn as an animal to suffer retribution is also truly terrifying. If you encounter those individuals who cruelly scald others with intensely boiling water, or maliciously burn them with scorching fire, or violently use other dangerous weapons to brutally cut or savagely hack them, what appropriate response should be conveyed to such malevolent beings? They will repay their karmic debts through the cycle of rebirth. Whatever method is ultimately used to kill them, they will inevitably reflect that negative karma back onto you, the perpetrator. It is always in this way. For example, if I scald living beings with boiling water, then in your next 500 lifetimes, you will also experience being terribly scalded to death by boiling hot water. If I burn its delicate limbs with fire, including nowadays, when many people enjoy a wide variety of living creatures such as succulent lobsters, delicate crabs, fresh fish, slithering snakes, and countless other forms of life, however brutally or subtly you choose to kill them, they will inevitably and certainly return to kill you in precisely the same manner. In the past, Master Zhigong once went to a wedding ceremony, and when he observed the entire scene, he immediately said, "Cows and sheep are prominently seated at the place of honor, while their own relatives are actually being cooked in the large pot." Didn't he just recite some verses earlier? He specifically said that cows and sheep become the honored guests indeed, while former relatives and friends are being boiled in the pot. We have also previously talked about the Venerable Gadayana, who used his miraculous powers to observe some particularly wondrous and extraordinary phenomena in the vast and diverse 6 realms. However, no matter how we choose to kill them, they will undoubtedly do the very same to us in return. As stated in the Shurangama Sutra, if a man kills a sheep to eat its meat, the sheep will be reborn as a human being, and the man, after his death, will be reborn as a sheep to repay his former debt. Thus, living beings of the 10 states of birth devour each other and so form evil karma which will have no end. Lifetime after lifetime, they eat each other. You become a human and then proceed to eat it, and subsequently later on, the sheep also becomes a human and then eats you in return. This relentless cycle of mutual retribution truly goes on and on without any foreseeable end. The profound cycle of birth and death for all humans is indeed a truly terrifying and deeply unsettling prospect. Actually, as Buddhists, most of us do have this important concept of karma and its consequences in our daily lives. But because some people may not have personally experienced such a truly profound karmic retribution in their own lives, or perhaps have never even received this kind of education, so they are half believing and at the same time half doubting. But in actual reality, the true relationship between cause and effect is precisely just like this. Therefore, we should carefully reflect on this matter, because the intricate concept of karma is indeed extremely profound. That's why, as I had the occasion to mention the other day, for some of these truly profound and deeply significant spiritual principles, we are able to come to a comprehensive and insightful understanding of them primarily through the Buddha's illuminating teachings on emptiness. As it clearly says in the Entering the Middle Way, there's no real need to contemplate too deeply about profound karma, because when ordinary people truly try to contemplate it, it's very difficult to genuinely reach a definitive conclusion. One must rely on the sacred teachings to have faith in it. But if we know nothing about the sacred teachings either, then regarding profound karma, even ordinary practitioners or devout Buddhists will find it truly hard to develop a firm conviction. That's why the great masters of the past, before practicing the unsurpassed secret teachings, always first practice the teachings on the rarity of human life and the impermanence of life, then the infallibility of karma and the suffering of samsara. These 4 common preliminary practices are regarded as extremely, extremely important. If you have unwavering faith in karma and absolutely believe in the suffering of samsara, at that point you become a suitable vessel for the Dharma. Otherwise, nowadays in America, there's a group called modern Buddhists who do not acknowledge past and future lives. There are some in the UK as well, and I've heard there are also some in Sikkim. They have established a completely new and distinct form of Buddhism. So what exactly are its fundamental teachings? They emphatically do not acknowledge past and future lives, nor do they accept the traditional 6 realms of samsara. They only recognize that the Buddha truly came to this world, and some of his doctrines, such as emptiness and impermanence, and they think these concepts are quite good. This includes Yuval Noah Harari, the author of *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*, who is also said to be like this. Last year I wanted to meet him and learn more about this. He sometimes also calls himself a meditator and talks about how greatly he has benefited from an Indian guru. But later, after learning through different channels, I found that he also only believes in certain parts of Buddhism and does not believe in the most core and fundamental principles of Buddhism. If you don't accept our concepts of karma and reincarnation, it's fine if you personally don't accept them. But if you call yourself a Buddhist, yet you don't truly acknowledge the concepts of karma and reincarnation, then that's really quite strange, isn't it? Are there some individuals among us who might also be like this, perhaps? If that is indeed the case, perhaps you should take a much closer look at yourself and your actions. Next, let's discuss what to do if you encounter someone who irrationally destroys or misuses things. Irrational destruction means destroying things. Nowadays, some people are unreasonable. Where is that, right? If you come across someone who breaks precepts or violates fasting rules, such as breaking the Pratimoksha precepts or the Bodhisattva precepts, or violating important fasting precepts, such as the 8 precepts, what about these particular individuals specifically? For them, you can talk about the karmic retribution of becoming animals or suffering from hunger. Nowadays, in our world, there are many people like this, some of whom are indeed animals or other beasts, creatures, who were actually precept breakers in their previous lives and have now been reborn as various animals. There are also some beings like those in Africa who are extremely hungry and thirsty, like hungry ghosts. This is the karmic result of breaking precepts in the past. You can explain this to them. If you encounter people who irrationally destroy or misuse things, who use property or resources in an unreasonable and reckless way, for example, whether it's our essential roads or our vital trees, we are fundamentally supposed to diligently nurture and carefully plant them, which is certainly not an easy thing to do or accomplish. But some people recklessly destroy them without any restraint, showing no care for public property. For people truly like this, in the future, all of their wishes will be completely unfulfilled, and they won't be able to obtain anything they desire. Whatever they want, they simply won't get it. If you encounter people who are arrogant and prideful, you should explain to them the karmic result of being born into a lowly or humble state. They ultimately end up becoming mere servants, indeed truly becoming the very lowly servants of others. Their social status is also extremely low and inferior. In fact, among all people, there are those individuals who are noble and those who are lowly. Some people of noble status have grown up in noble circumstances since childhood. Their wisdom, their appearance, and their abilities, all of these can be said to surpass those of ordinary human beings. But some people are born into humble circumstances from the very beginning. Their wisdom, appearance, and talents, in every aspect they fall short. Such people also exist, truly do exist. So, those who were once arrogant and prideful will gradually become like this as well, eventually. As for those who are humble now, if they diligently practice and consistently treat others with genuine respect and unwavering discipline, then in the future they too can become people of noble status, and so on. If you encounter those individuals, malicious, harmful individuals, who sow discord with double-tongued speech, and who often use divisive words to stir up conflict among others, in front of those who are always stirring up all kinds of gossip and disputes. We talk about the karmic results of having no tongue or having 100 tongues. As for having no tongue, it means literally having no tongue at all. It has already decayed from a young age. Even now, there are people in the world who have no tongue like this, which is truly pitiful. There are even some who have an unusually large number of tongues, like snakes or other animals with many tongues. Because our speech truly deserves our careful attention, each and every one of us, often without fully realizing it, creates a great deal of karma. In the past, practitioners would say, "Speak less idle words, recite the Buddha's name more." There is indeed such a common saying. Generally speaking, we often talk about what is right and what is wrong, and frequently point out others' faults. In doing so, we unintentionally create a lot of negative karma. But if we often and sincerely praise the profound merits of the Three Jewels and the Venerable Sangha, just now I distinctly heard someone clearly say that they absolutely cannot stand anyone and always have something negative to say about others. In fact, perhaps this is just the clear manifestation of their karma. Some people, no matter what truly happens, can readily accept it. Even the most serious and challenging matters, they can explain them quite reasonably and understand them in a reasonable way. So we should also pay very careful attention to our speech. Otherwise, we might inadvertently create some truly frightening karma. When we have a bit of education or some ability, we should also be careful when writing books ourselves. Nowadays, virtually everyone online can truly be a news reporter. So those individuals who like to criticize or talk additional nonsense, they actually create a lot of negative karma. If you have the ability, it's truly best to, whether you're posting on blog or creating engaging videos on TikTok, whatever you ultimately say, try to make it somewhat beneficial to all sentient beings and carry some positive energy. That might be a little bit better. Otherwise, some people just simply follow their current mood and they post things every single day. They'll think this person has mental issues. That's what others say. Because this person often, nowadays, what are many people like? When they look at someone, they can't see that person's heart. But even their close friends and family, when they carefully read the various articles or other written materials this particular person thoughtfully writes and publishes, they often truly judge a person by saying, this person has psychological issues. Some leaders are like this too. You see, some leaders post over 200 tweets a day, more than 200 daily tweets, and people say, he must be a bit mentally unstable, perhaps, maybe manic or something like that. We also think that's probably the case. Not to mention important figures, even ordinary people, if they post over 200 times, unless it's for some special reason or something, there's probably something going on. So for many of us, especially in our modern language and communication, we need to be even more incredibly cautious and mindful nowadays. A single statement or utterance from someone might get an especially high number of clicks and benefit thousands upon thousands of people. But if someone is in a bad mood and says something like that, it's like they've spilled all their guts out. Everyone else will know that this person is, so this person actually has some kind of issue. Because people nowadays are very observant. They're good at reading between the lines. Just from a single sentence someone says, people will think, this person must, a couple of days later, if they post something else, people will say, this person must be in a really bad mood lately. Or recently something must have happened. Or this person is in a really good mood. I have seen a few respected Tibetan Khenpos. I basically watch them quite often now, though I don't watch a lot, just occasionally. But when I really see others' content, I like checking Tibetan Khenpos' posts, though there are just a very few. It seems like every time I check their posts, their lives are very peaceful and serene, whether it's the beautiful photos they post. So just a couple of sentences they write. From just one sentence, you can tell that this person is probably living a very calm and peaceful life, or is someone with a deep and abiding faith in Shakyamuni Buddha, or, this person possesses great and profound faith in Guru Rinpoche. I don't know if they are like me in this particular way, but a great number of people, when they truly observe someone's state of mind, it can significantly influence many others. At the very least, it profoundly affects those immediately around you, those deeply connected to you, whether it's your dedicated fans or your close-knit circle of friends. These people are still influenced in different ways. Among us Tibetans, there's a saying, say one sentence and look at the reaction of a whole crowd. You need to consider the situation and say what is appropriate for others. This is indeed very important. Of course, sometimes when we speak, including when we write materials, maybe unintentionally, we sometimes make slips of the tongue or use certain words, inappropriate words, which can lead to misunderstandings for others. This does happen. But generally speaking, our human mind can truly control everything. So when it specifically comes to divisive or chaotic speech, we should clarify things for others. Otherwise, if they keep being like this life after life, it would be quite frightening. If you encounter someone with wrong views, if you meet a person with wrong views, you need to explain things clearly to them patiently. It's best that you don't develop wrong views yourself at all. Otherwise, the consequences will be serious. You will suffer. You will be reborn as a person in a borderland for lifetime after lifetime, completely ignorant of the principles of cause and effect, and not valuing the truth at all, becoming an especially lowly and ignorant sentient being. So you need to explain this kind of karmic retribution to them. Actually, at first glance, it seems like Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is speaking to other sentient beings, but in reality, each one of us is included. We should pay attention ourselves. I noticed that there are 23 different kinds of karmic retribution mentioned here. I counted them yesterday. There are exact 23 different types of retribution. As for these specific 23 types, in our everyday daily lives, we still often commit them. After discussing it like this, we can't claim that we avoid all 23 of them. For example, we may not give rise to wrong views. We may not engage in double-tongued speech or be arrogant and prideful, but it's impossible for us to do all of them perfectly. If we could, we would be bodhisattvas. But at the least, for those that are more serious, the ones we are more prone to making mistakes with. For example, if I often kill sentient beings, or frequently break their sacred precepts, or often misuse the sacred communal property of the monastic sangha, after understanding these principles of cause and effect, we should be much more cautious. We can indeed see that some Buddhists are very especially careful with their words and very cautious in their actions. We can tell just by being around them, this person is definitely someone who has received Buddhist education on cause and effect. Some people, as soon as they open their mouths, start cursing others indiscriminately, constantly criticizing and slandering others. When that happens, we can see it clearly. Either this individual has never truly received any proper education about the fundamental principles of cause and effect, or this person has committed very serious and significant offenses with their speech, and is in fact a particularly frightening individual. People around them can also readily observe this about many other individuals. So those individuals who have sincerely received a comprehensive Buddhist education should, at the very least, demonstrate some positive changes in their overall behavior and conduct. More or less, there will be some change, but this change is best maintained throughout one's entire life. It's not just that for the 2 or 3 days you're attending a class, you're very careful, paying special attention to your speech, immediately hanging a silence sign around your neck, not saying anything at all, but after a while, you go back to your old ways, cursing and hitting people again. That kind of change is only temporary and cannot have a lasting effect. A truly dedicated practitioner will not fundamentally change throughout their entire life's journey or their core principles. They won't be one way today and another way tomorrow, constantly changing back and forth. That won't happen. A true practitioner is actually being steady and composed is very important for a person. If someone is steady, many people will find it easy to trust them. When we judge a person, we look at whether they are steady and reliable. Whether we're looking for someone to volunteer or hiring any kind of staff, the first thing we consider is their character. Are they steady and reliable? If they are steady, views will be steady, physical presence will be steady, and words will be steady. They won't changing. But some people overthink things a lot. Today they're here, tomorrow they're thinking about something else. And then after a couple more days, winds of karma blowing them, and there's nothing they can do. They can't control themselves. But on the other hand, maybe they really haven't discovered themselves yet. Each of us should discover ourselves. What do many of your closest friends truly think of you? It's like what is said in Sakya Pandita's Treasury of Good Advice. Even if you genuinely don't possess great wealth, that's perfectly fine. Even if you happen to lack other material things, that's also completely fine. But as long as you have truly good friends, that's the very best thing. I remember something like this. So now, some people really don't have any friends at all. They become especially lonely, almost autistic, all alone, with no one, no close friends or family. What's the reason for this? It's really their own fault. Nowadays, in many Western countries, statistics show that around the world as a whole, people are having fewer and fewer friends. In the past, in some Western countries, people generally had about 3 to 4 trusted and loyal friends each. But now they say it's about 1 friend per person, maybe 1.5 friends on average now. So why are people having fewer and fewer friends in modern society than before? Because many people are too selfish and self-centered in their relationships with others. Also, they lack altruism, and people's hearts are unstable. These are the reasons. Why are people so selfish? Actually, the reason is the current Western education system. It has led to the erasure of cultures around the world. This is the reason. Originally, every single country at least had its own unique traditions and fundamental basic values about how to be a virtuous person. For example, how to be filial to parents and cherish friends, loyalty, trustworthiness, these were emphasized. Every single country had its own unique traditions. But now, for about the past 300 years or so, much of Western culture has been about selfishness, pure selfishness. In this case, people only think about themselves. Whether it's friends, spouses, or even parents, they put themselves first and have no sense of altruism at all. If someone does have an altruistic mindset, people think there's something wrong with them mentally. They'll say, "You don't even take care of yourself, so why care about others?" So under the influence of this kind of culture, we humans have already become a different kind of being. Indeed, sometimes when we look at it, our current education has changed. This isn't just about one or two countries, it's a global issue. Education everywhere is centered around selfishness. Under such an educational system, the number of truly trustworthy friends each person has is getting smaller and smaller. Some people truly don't have any at all. For example, if I'm feeling especially troubled today and I want to pour out what's in my heart, I can't find anyone in the whole world to talk to. Not a single friend, not a single trustworthy person at all. I don't trust this person. I don't trust that person at all. No one is really my friend. At this point, you start to feel that in this world, you are completely alone. Like a pitiful, solitary tree, lonely, isolated, solitary tree standing alone. So for us humans, for all of us human beings, from the perspective of karma and retribution, this is indeed truly very important. The concept of altruism, selfless pure altruism, and the ideas of cause and effect, if someone truly understands cause and effect, that person will definitely be honest and reasonable. We often say that when choosing someone, selecting the right person, if this person values the law of cause and effect, they should always be trustworthy. But if someone truly doesn't care about cause and effect at all, that particular person is also quite unreliable. That's precisely why so many great masters often say, the foundation of spiritual practice is truly being a good person. Only after you become a good person can you truly begin to practice. And only after you have practiced well can you hope to go to heaven or be reborn in the pure land of ultimate bliss. Therefore, when it comes to being a good person, we can also make it. Of course, there are some individuals who are naturally good-hearted from birth, who are altruistic, honest, and sincere. There are people like this as well. But for some individuals, it truly comes from later education. If we don't receive a very good education indeed, as you all know, in today's schools, maybe starting from kindergarten, all the way up to postdoctoral studies, we learn a great deal of things. A lot of it is highly technical as well. But most of the content is about how to make money for oneself, how to deceive others, how to effectively harm others, and there are quite a significant lot of various skills involved in these particular areas. You might not actually know about Adam Smith's profound economics. Among us monastics, perhaps these particular things are of absolutely no concern, but sometimes when we truly look at the current state of the world and the significant changes in people's mindsets, we still really need to understand a little bit. If you don't understand, you might wonder about people's hearts nowadays. Why is it that I don't have a single friend around me? But the root cause of this is Western education, which now, across the whole world, has completely overturned and covered everything. Each one of us has become an exceptionally good and truly remarkable egoist. Even though we often talk about altruism and the concept of bodhicitta, but how deeply and how far can this kind of education truly penetrate deeply into the very core of our hearts? This is indeed something you can readily observe for yourself. So, at this crucial time, placing significant importance on the fundamental principles of cause and effect, on the undeniable reality of karmic retribution. If everyone believes that good deeds bring good results and evil deeds bring bad results, then this is a very good form of education. As for this point, we can see in the future how we might promote it. Thus, the sentient beings of Jambudvapa, the results of their negative habits in body, speech, and mind, are profoundly affected. The sentient beings of Jambudvapa create karma through their body, speech, and mind. The karmic retributions they experience are also truly countless and incredibly varied. There are so many, and here it is briefly summarized for clarity. The differences in karmic experiences among the sentient beings of Jambudvapa, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva uses every possible means, employing many millions of skillful and truly effective methods to teach and truly transform them. As we previously mentioned a couple of days ago, we should, in the very near future, indeed, ideally when giving teachings, it is best to teach according to the needs of the audience. Observe carefully what kind of group is present below. If the audience truly enjoys listening to this particular kind of topic, then you should certainly speak about these specific kinds of principles. This is very important. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is very skillful in this regard. He would never, if the audience below is actually, didn't I mention before, there was a Khenpo named Pema Chonle. One day, he was diligently teaching a few young children, and he was carefully explaining the profound views of Tsongkhapa and Gorampa Rinpoche, but all the children were simply playing around. When I fetched water, I often passed by him, observing his patient demeanor. But he himself was especially fond of studying debate. However, he didn't observe. Maybe his IQ was fine, but his emotional intelligence was a bit lacking. He didn't pay attention to the capacity of the people below. Those children had no idea at all who Jet Tsongkhapa was or who Gorampa Rinpoche was. They didn't care at all who Sakya Pandita was either. So when we teach, we should always indeed be like Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Observe those who have a strong tendency toward anger and teach them dharma that relates to their anger. If they are especially attached to wealth, material worldly wealth, then talk about wealth, discuss material wealth. But you also can't scare them all away once you start talking. You can't do that. So from this particular perspective, some of our esteemed Dharma friends now, you see, right from the beginning, keep talking about hell. What we'll do later, I plan to talk about hell today. At the very beginning, before formally taking refuge, you talk to them about hell, and then they simply don't dare to take refuge at all. So in this regard, everyone still needs to improve. Some of us are not skillful at all. After learning something ourselves, we think it can be applied to everyone. This is actually a very significant failure. It's truly best for us to deeply understand the mentality of the local people or the specific group. Especially when you promote the sacred Dharma in the future, you must consider this carefully. At such times you must. Sometimes I also go to some places. A few years ago, I actually went to many countries. If I couldn't find a way to understand things when I went there, sometimes the information online wasn't very clear either. Then, on the way from the airport to the hotel, if there were some local people, I would ask them questions non-stop, just keep asking and asking. After arriving there, I would be quite tired. But before that, asking a lot of detailed questions was really quite helpful for my lesson preparation. If I had to give a lecture the very next day, today, I would find out what the locals love, what they like, and what they oppose, and what things they are especially sensitive or taboo about. All of this is very necessary. So when it comes to the capacities of sentient beings, we really need to understand them. This is very important. That's why Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva teaches and transforms sentient beings in this way. These sentient beings first receive such retributions as these. After receiving these severe and inescapable retributions, they then fall into the deepest abysses of hell, and subsequently they go through countless kalpas, which are vast cosmic periods with no time of release from their torment. So here, you all specifically refers to the venerable four heavenly kings. You should diligently protect and safeguard these sentient beings from harm and suffering. The sentient beings of Jambudvipa protect the people of these countries so that they are not confused by various karmic forces and do not let them act recklessly or without proper consideration in any way, beginning to create all kinds of evil karma and delusions, which ultimately leads to confusion and suffering and experiencing boundless pain in hell. So, as for the four heavenly kings, at that time, Shakyamuni Buddha also entrusted them with this responsibility. Why is it that at the grand entrance of every temple, there are always prominent paintings of the revered four heavenly kings? These four heavenly kings, they also made their solemn vows in the extensive biography of the Buddha to protect the sentient beings of Jambudvipa. This commitment is also mentioned in the Medicine Buddha Sutra and many other scriptures, that they are here to protect us sentient beings. Therefore, the Buddha also said, you must protect these sentient beings. These sentient beings are truly pitiable. You are to be dharma protectors. Do your best to prevent these sentient beings from creating negative karma. Otherwise, truly experiencing suffering is very frightening. So regarding the Ksitigarbha Sutra, we don't actually talk about it a lot every day. But I really hope that through the Ksitigarbha Sutra, everyone can truly feel the law of karma and its direct consequences. And the skillful means of Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha. In the future, if we have the opportunity ourselves, we should always be like the great Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha, not clinging to our own self-interest, and diligently use all kinds of skillful means. To benefit sentient beings with the Dharma, I hope everyone will make aspirations. Look at Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha, who made vows like the grains of sand in the Ganges River. We don't even know how many times we've made aspirations. Each person, whether you've made aspirations or not, when I first came to the Institute, I made a vow once. The second time was during the Samantabhadra cloud offering puja. I made another vow. As for the Vidyadhara puja, I don't know. I forgot. I think I wasn't there, so I didn't make any aspirations. This is just something that I have made up. If I were to put it that way, perhaps it is still not quite enough. We truly need to make many more significant aspirations. After the 4 great heavenly kings heard what the revered Shakyamuni Buddha said, they were also very deeply moved and profoundly grateful. And when they profoundly observed the immense and pervasive suffering of all sentient beings across the vast and interconnected 6 realms of samsara, they too were deeply moved to shed tears and were left in a state of profound and overwhelming sorrow. Or you could say they left deeply moved. There are different ways to interpret this. They were also especially moved and profoundly happy. After the Buddha spoke in this manner, some devoted Dharma friends, when they have the opportunity to meet great spiritual masters or revered great tulkus, when they eventually leave their presence, they are always filled with a deep sense of awe and gratitude. Very sad, yet deeply, deeply moved as they depart. So at that time, the 4 great heavenly kings also saw Shakyamuni Buddha teaching them such profound and enlightening Dharma, and everyone present was especially grateful and deeply moved, leaving with their palms respectfully joined in a gesture of reverence. Originally, we were going to discuss the next chapter, but for today, let's stop here. This chapter is now concluded.
Kirgana jirano chupai, chupun solen droadvajo.
Bandarangara badna asadarda. Bandarangara badna asadarda. Bandarangara badna asadarda.